Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new video where we're diving back into a somewhat rare concept on the channel, challenges in the Pokémon League. Today, we'll explore whether Barry, also known as René, Pearl, or Diamond, depending on the community and era, could have beaten the League himself in Pokémon Platinum. For context, Barry is the player's rival in Pokémon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, and he's also your well-meaning neighbor. He's the son of the Battle Tower leader, where you face him for the final time in the game. Generally, you could describe him as a hothead, because he doesn't hesitate to put himself in danger when he gets an idea in his head, like when he tries to enter tall grass without Poké Balls or Pokémon at the start of the game. He's also pretty restless, always running around during the adventure. He loses at Lake Valor to Commander Jupiter, and of course, get defeated by the hero multiple times throughout their journey. Without further ado, let's check out Barry's team, which by the way, is the second most powerful trainer team in all Pokémon games, right behind Red's of course. His lead is the classic Staraptor, the Route 1 bird from this version, at level 81. It's a true beast, with 4 moves of different types, which was quite common in the 4th generation. Naturally, it has its 2 stab moves, Brave Bird and Quick Attack. Close Combat, which is a must-have for this bird Pokémon to handle steel types, and U-Turn, one of the most strategically useful moves in the game, especially handy for a lead with the Intimidate ability. Next up is Rose Raid, whose move coverage is once again pretty solid. It can put foes to sleep with Grass Whistle, recover HP with Giga Drain, and use stab moves like Sludge Bomb. If it needs to attack a Psychic type, Shadow Ball is the perfect choice. Moving on, we have Rapidash level 59, which is slightly less interesting except for its typing. It only has 2 direct damage moves, Flamethrower and Megahorn, one being special and the other physical, which isn't ideal to be honest. Sunny Day can boost its offensive stats, and Will-O-Wisp could potentially lower the physical damage from opponents. A burn can happen quickly with this Fiery Unicorn. Next is Heracross, level 81, which also has Megahorn as a stab move, perfectly fitting with its high attack stat. It also knows Stone Edge, giving it an answer to the flying types it fears, due to its quadruple weakness. After that, we have Snorlax, level 83, a Pokemon Barry shares with Red. It's always a solid addition to the team, even though it doesn't have any recovery moves. Annoying Steel and Rock types will be wiped out by Earthquake. And finally, the starter, here being Empoleon. It's the only one holding an item, a Citrus Berry, mirroring the trainer from the Battle Zone exactly. By the way, in the game, this trainer's Pokemon IVs evolve throughout the adventure, even though this is supposed to be a fixed stat for a Pokemon. The idea here is to make him increasingly difficult to defeat, which is why the developers gave him high IVs at the end, which I've replicated. Empoleon is mixed, meaning it has both special and physical moves, with 2 different stabs. Notably, Ice Beam is included, which could be handy against a certain Dragon-type trainer in the final room of the League. Now that you're all set, we can see that with the League's level 60 Pokemon, it should definitely be possible to beat it. So, without further delay, let's head to the first room. The first trainer is Aaron, who has insect-like Pokemon. He greets us with Yanmega, and we respond with Staraptor, who doesn't hesitate to use Brave Bird on the giant dragonfly, which of course one-shots it, though we do lose some HP. The next Pokemon is Drapion, which isn't a bug type, so we decide to switch out. After using U-Turn, the start of the battle is perfect, and we have the perfect Pokemon for this. Snorlax is chosen to replace our bird, and with Earthquake, the opposing poison-type Pokemon stands no chance. We've taken down 2 Pokemon before facing Heracross, who won't hesitate to use a fighting-type move on Snorlax. With Brave Bird, the Blue Beetle is inevitably knocked out, but now we're down to just 26 HP for the last 2 Pokemon, including Apom. No worries, we'll sacrifice our Staraptor, who's more than done its job in this battle. With Brave Bird, all that's left is to defeat Scizor, which Rapidash can handle with its Fire-type move. We easily get through the forest, having defeated the first trainer, and after reviving Staraptor, we enter the second room. Next up is Bertha, a Ground-type, or even Rock Ground-type trainer, which are pretty common weaknesses for anyone who received a starter at the beginning of the game. As always, we lead with Staraptor, even though we already know our first move in this battle. The opposing team's lead is Whiscash, so we immediately use U-Turn to switch to Rose Raid. This battle is a bit like Wally vs Maxie in Pokemon Emerald, with one evolution difference. Since we're faster, we can use Giga Drain on the evolved Loach, winning the first match without breaking a sweat. The next Pokemon is Gliscor, so we immediately call out Empoleon, who takes quite a bit of damage, but when it lands an Ice Beam, we've already taken out the second Scorpion of this league before facing Hippowdon. For this Pokemon, it's pretty obvious. A Water Stab move from a Torrent-boosted Pokemon will flood the room, and the remaining Pokemon, Golem and Rhyperior, will be unable to swim in this new municipal pool, given their dual Rock Ground typing. The battle is won again with flying colors, and we can already sum it up. The first 2 trainers were a walk in the park, which we pretty much expected. In the meantime, we can enter the third room. In this game, Flint, the member of the Elite Four of the Sinnoh region, had a monotype team, unlike in Diamond and Pearl, where the regional Pokédex had a rather pitiful selection of Fire-type Pokemon. We stick with a winning team, so it's Staraptor that we bring out to start the battle against Game Freak's Cerberus Houndoom. Since this dog is also a Dark type, close combat will take care of it easily, allowing it to return to its Poké Ball. And Infernape is sent out next. That's convenient, as we have a flying-type stab move. It's a poor choice by Flint to send it out now, as we outspeed it, and the Raptor hunts hunts its prey, taking it down. Magmortar is the next Pokemon, and since Staraptor has served us well, it will make way for our Water-type Pokemon, who, unfortunately, takes a Thunderbolt, much to everyone's surprise. It doesn't have many Hydro Pumps left, but the first one hits, so Magmar's evolution will have a hard time drying its tears. The next Pokemon is another evolution, Flareon, which also can't escape the wrath of our Royal Swordsman. Finally, a Rapidash stands as the last obstacle in the 4th Elite Four room. Since it uses Bounce, we know we can safely send in Snorlax, who just so happens to have Earthquake, super effective against the Unicorn. And there we go, the battle is won, but that was a given. Now it's time for Lucian and his Psychic-type Pokemon. Unfortunately, we're not in Galar yet, so his Mr. Mime doesn't have the Ice-type that could have been useful against Staraptor. However, we do have a Bug-type move, super effective, which lets us switch out Pokemon. It's a win-win, so we call in Snorlax, while Lucian recalls Mr. Mime for a Galed. Alert, a fighting type move is incoming. We don't have a perfect counter to this Pokemon, so we bring back our brave Staraptor to lower its attack, hoping to tank the hit, which it does quite well to be honest. Since we love using U-turn a bit too much, we forget to have it use a flying type move, and as it doesn't switch out, Heracross takes a Stone Edge. Unfortunately, it's slower than Galad, and on the next move, it's KO'd without being able to do anything more, so we call in Rapidash, who will cool Galad's fervor with a Fire Blast. Luckily, Galad misses its Stone Edge, leaving us with 35 HP before we deliver the final blow, but that was not counting on Lucian, who heals the male counterpart of Gardevoir. We go all out with Mega Horn, but this Pokemon still stands strong, and Rapidash falls in battle. Its name was Stuball, it was a white horse, and Staraptor will avenge it. With a simple quick attack, it can get rid of the psychic fighting threat and face Alakazam, a Pokemon often found in the league. We U-turn after taking quite a bit of damage, but since the opposing Pokemon is more of a glass cannon, it's KO'd before the duel between Snorlax and Espeon. We have Crunch, perfectly suited for this Pokemon, so we'll have to face Bronzong as the final course of this battle. Crunch doesn't do much damage, but we decide to persist with this move, even after the opponent heals, and eventually, it works. The Steel Bell has been crunched, giving us a ticket to confront Cynthia, the region's champion. Will we, like all the trainers in this league, be able to defeat her in one go? One thing is certain, we have a balanced team and a definite level advantage. Better yet, with our lead, we can anticipate the start of the battle with a U-turn and bring in Snorlax, who takes little damage. With 2 crunches, the obese Pokemon disposes of the champion's lead, forcing her to urgently bring in Lucario. Her Pokemon is faster and in full health, so it delivers a super effective attack. However, we anticipate Cynthia's healing and call in Heracross to use effective fighting type moves. Thus, we can chain the steel and fighting type Pokemon before facing Togekiss, who 2 generations later would be an ultimate counter, and 2 more generations later would have better Dynamax abilities. We have nothing more to do with Heracross, so we'll sacrifice it, but not before sending a rock-type move toward the bird, which still manages to endure it. So, to replace the blue beetle, we return to Staraptor, still as majestic as ever, who drinks into Gippy's evolution. Now it's Melodic's turn, and the Ice-type attack can be felt, so it seems appropriate to bring in Empoleon. We don't have many attacks that can deal major damage to it, but neither does it, so we hammer it with Drill Peck until its trainer heals it, repeating the operation until it finally falls. Success comes at the end of the tunnel, where Garchomp awaits us for a final battle. We had Ice Beam ready for it specifically, but unfortunately, we're far too slow, and, worse yet, far too weak at this point in the game, as the pseudo-legendary dragon claims its first victim. The first thing to do is perhaps to lower its gigantic attack with Staraptor, who launches a first Brave Bird. Luckily, when Garchomp retaliates, Dragon Rush is too weak to take down our bird. We won't miss the chance to finish it off, and Staraptor delivers another Brave Bird, removing Cynthia's Garchomp from the battlefield. However, she still has one more Pokemon, and I have to be honest, I had forgotten about that one, but all it takes is pressing A to win the battle, at the cost of one last sacrifice from Staraptor. So, we have our answer. Barry is indeed capable of beating the league when you face him a second time in the game Platinum. To be fair, he has a pretty balanced team, with attacks that have good coverage, and above all, a Staraptor on fire, which was able to unlock situations that weren't particularly worrisome anyway. I hope you enjoyed this challenge, and if you did, I invite you to leave a comment just below this video, not only because it's good for the algorithm, but also to tell me which trainer you want to see next. See you soon. Au revoir.